Hey guys, how you going? Okay, let's get into it today. We're going from Australia to the US, okay? And possibly Canada in there somewhere as well. Professor Rogers speaks for the something. Breaking news video. Labor's so-called landslide victory is far from the triumph it's been portrayed as. It's quite the opposite. Eye-opening analysis reveals the truth you need to see. Dutton, Albanese, Greens, Labor, Liberals, Libs? Okay, I didn't know. Libs, Liberals and Libs. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Hopefully the sound is good.
But, and this is a big but, there are some important points that need to be understood because the seat count is deceptive. Right now, Albanese has picked up some 87 seats off a primary vote of around 34.7%. Now, that primary vote might still bounce around a little as counting continues, but that's basically where it is. So a 34.7% primary, and he's got a pickup of 87 seats. Now, by contrast, the next best win, as I said, by Labor was right in 2007. And there, Kevin 07 picked up 83 seats on a primary of 43.4%. 43.4%. Now, that's massive. And it's a difference of about 10 percentage points on primary for about the same number of seats between Rudd and Albanese. Indeed, if I take a look at 2016, Bill Shorten there lost out to Malcolm Turnbull, but he had a primary vote then of 34.73%, and he lost. And yet tonight, as they're hailing Albanese as a Labor legend, his primary sits on 34.79. Now that's a difference of 0.06% between Shorten's loss and Albanese's triumph. 0.06%. And yet Shorten then claimed 69 seats. Tonight Albanese's got 87, maybe more. So how does that happen? Well, key here is obviously the flow of preferences and the fact that there are way more players on the left of politics now, some being declared on the left like the Greens, some who pretend they're not on the left but are like the Teals, who funnel preferences in a very disciplined way to Labor. Now, this is very much what happened in the recent UK election where Keir Starmer's Labor Party painted the map in red but off a very low vote share of the national vote. And this is what happened here in Australia on the weekend. Indeed, look at this. Look at the national vote here in sheer numerical terms. You've got 4.62 million Australians who voted Labor and 4.23 million who voted for the coalition. Now, that's a difference of just some 390,000 votes. But thanks to where they all fell and the preference flows, tonight Labor out of that hall has got 87 seats and the coalition hasn't even bagged 40. See what I mean here about perspective. Turnout too, well, that's worth mentioning. In 2022, Australia had the lowest voter turnout since the First World War of 89.82% of the electorate. Right now, according to the AEC's website, that turnout's tracking at 77%. So to put that too into perspective, that's a massive drop that says voter engagement in our elections is falling fast.
Okay, so what wouldn't help also would be all the immigrants they've imported who probably vote Labor as well. But if the 23% that didn't vote voted, would that have made a difference? I don't know, I'm just asking. Lozzie B said Labor's net zero green energy goals will cripple Australia and destroy our environment, beautiful natural landscape, essential ecosystems, and lead to the extinction of vulnerable endangered species. Intermittent, unreliable, destructive green energy is not how we reduce our 1% contribution to global emissions. Less trees and vegetation equals higher CO2 and increased temperatures. Plant more trees, protect the ocean, stop mass clearing land equals reduced CO2 and reduced temperature. The Daily Mail has reported wind turbines in Queensland and New South Wales are killing rare Aussie wildlife, and wind farm operators are being trained to kill koalas humanely as Labor commits to net zero emissions by 2050. Oh my goodness, and not only that, they're clearing trees off land to put solar panels and wind power, because you can't have trees near the wind turbines. That's crazy. People do not realise at all. Okay, Alex James said the coalition needs to be dismantled. They sold us out. Now the country is about to fall apart. And voting will never be the same after millions of new Labor voters flood in from overseas. They can't stop Labor and Greens in the House of Reps or the Senate. Not that they support what we want anyway. There's no point in the coalition existing anymore, so it's just time to scatter them to the wind, replace them with real Australians who aren't puppets. Why does this man look so feminine all of a sudden? Maybe it's meant to be that way. We are cooked, coalition campaign source speaking to 6 News. Who is 6 News? I have no idea, but apparently they're something. Okay, Rad said goodbye, Zoe Daniel, you Gucci Green. I will enjoy the little wins while watching the sacrifices of Anzacs and the freedoms they fought for. Next is Adam, the bearded Greta. I've never heard that one before. Adam Bant, our Greens leader, is the bearded Greta, okay? Hopefully he does lose his seat. So this was actually the difference in the end. Okay, because it kept on going. The counts were still going even after I showed you the massive Labor win. Well, look. But the seats are double seats, more than double of what the coalition got. So if Aussies are unhappy with the results and didn't want Labor in, they should have put them last. The figures clearly show that's not what happened. There's only a 2% difference in primary vote numbers, yet preferences have so far given Labor 47 more seats than the coalition. Makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? And that's in response to Australian Patriot. Is social media wrong, or how can 3-1 be unhappy with the result and yet they won by a landslide? Well, they didn't really, did they? And the Greens, they do have some seats, but not as many, I think. Okay. Labor was preferenced above the coalition in very large numbers, hence the wipeout. Yeah, most people, I'm pretty sure, put Labor last. But anyway, okay. We'll see how this continues. Now to USAID. Okay, Johnny Midnight said, so what is USAID? Well, I'm going to let them tell you because it's a pretty good video.
So what is USAID? When people hear the name USAID, they focus on aid. They focus on thinking like it's humanitarian work. But aid is not actually in the name of USAID. USAID stands for the United States Agency for International Development, not aid. It's not a charity. And international development is simply capacity building. It is local and regional capacity building done across the whole world, i.e. internationally. The primal id in USAID, international development, is about capacity building of assets that can be used by either the Pentagon, the State Department, or the CIA for their own activities. So if you're the Secretary of State and you were asked by the National Security Council or the President to do something in a different country, overthrow their government, stop the passage of a bill in a foreign country's legislature, how would you do that? And the first thing that I said is you would look at the assets that already exist in the country. Do we need new assets in addition to the ones that we currently have, or are the existing assets, can they achieve this simply by giving them enough money, giving them enough resources, giving them enough training, giving them enough support? One of the main ways that capacity building would be financed would be through USAID. USAID would say that it's doing something, funding a hospital system, funding universities, funding civil society organizations, funding media institutions, funding independent media in the region. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Independent media in the region on USAID payroll. And those institutions, those assets, would then be bigger and more powerful and more capable capacity, more capable of serving the State Department's goal, aka advancing U.S. national interests. USAID has a bigger budget than the State Department, over $50 billion. It is a bigger budget than the CIA. The entire intelligence community only has about 72 billion. So that's the CIA plus the 16 others. And USAID has a bigger budget than the CIA and is almost the size of the entire intelligence community combined. That is how important USAID is to American statecraft. It is an intelligence community, a State Department, and a Pentagon assistance organization rolled into one. I just copied this from the USAID website. USAID carries out U.S. foreign policy, advances U.S. national interests by promoting broad-scale human progress. At the same time, it expands stable, free societies, creates markets and trade partners for the United States, and fosters goodwill abroad. The operative phrases here are carries out U.S. foreign policy. This is not charity work. This is not aid. This is cynical, self-serving purposes. And what is it seeking to do? Free societies, open societies. Why does USAID want other countries to be open societies? Because that's how you get the influence in. If a country is a closed society, they're closed off from USAID influence. We cannot capacity build our assets there. Closed societies box USAID out. China is a closed society. That is why we have not been able to topple the government of China, despite having tried for 100 years now almost. We have not been able to topple Putin from Russia. Why? Because Russia is a closed society. Like China, they kicked USAID out. It is not an open society. And so the USAID can't just take over their entire media ecosystem by funding 100 different media propaganda outlets in the region to sway hearts and minds. And remember, that's what this is. It's hearts and minds and cash. That's what soft power is. They call it hearts and minds work, but it's cash that does the moving of those hearts and minds, especially of the leaders of the movements.
Very interesting. So that's how they overthrow things in different countries. Okay. Because they fund the universities, the hospitals, so, they can put their influence in there. Okay, Phyllis said, can I ask a stupid question? Why do non-profits beg for money from the general public if our taxpayer dollars are funding them through USAID? I've seen lots of commercials from Catholic charities. Yeah, they're not the only ones. There's a lot of non-governmental organisations that, what about the ones who ask for food for the kids from Ethiopia, those types of things. There's a lot of that. Well, there used to be anyway. I don't know if there is anymore. I don't watch TV and I haven't for quite a while. Scary election denier said run down on US IP. US Institute of Peace has an armory that's on level with the White House Class 4. When did they get the Class 4 designation? After they were caught with the armory full of machine guns after Doge exposed them. US IP is bigger than USAID, so much corruption they were caught trying to delete a terabyte of accounting data. Things are getting spicy. Wow. That's going to be interesting, so I'll keep an eye out on that. Sydney Powell's back. We must vote every one of these traitors out. Attention data Republican. Find out how much these senators or someone in their family is benefiting from USAID. We need to make it public everywhere. Deplorable Rochelle said this should surprise no one, but this should make us beyond angry. Breaking, here are the 26 Republicans that just voted against codifying Doge foreign aid spending cuts into law. Lindsey Graham, Barrasso, Boozman, Capito, Cassidy, Collins, Kramer, Crapo? Okay. Fisher, Grassley, Hoven, Hyde-Smith, Langford, McConnell, McCormick, Moran, Mullen, Murkowski, Ricketts, Rounds, Scott SC, Sullivan, Thune, Tillis, Wicker and Young. Okay. So they voted against Doge. Okay. Interesting. Ron DeSantis said Florida is not a testing ground for geoengineering, for anyone who doesn't believe in geoengineering, okay? Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, okay? We already do not permit this type of activity, but we're going the next step to ensure it does not happen in this state. As soon as it reaches my desk, I'll be signing the recently passed Senate Bill 56 to prohibit the release of chemicals into our skies to alter the weather or atmosphere. A free state of Florida means freedom from governments or private actors unilaterally applying chemicals or geoengineering to people or public spaces. Free state, clear skies. Florida will not be a testing ground for unregulated atmospheric manipulation. While Florida does not currently permit weather modification activities, this new legislation modernises enforcement to address the growing trend of unauthorised geoengineering. There you go. Just for anyone who does not believe that they spray the skies. And Bill Gates wants to block out the sun. And they want you to use solar panels. How's that one going to work out? I'm just asking. Okay, seems like a bit of an oxymoron thing happening. Sheila Gunn Reid, okay, we are going to Canada, but this applies to all of our, like, the ABC in Australia, the BBC in the UK, and the ABC in America, okay? They're all the same. Sheila Gunn Reid said CBC, which is Canada's broadcasting, lied. The viewers knew. Now even the Ombudsman can't ignore it. Canada's state broadcaster just set a record for complaints. Here's what they tried to get away with during the 2025 election and how they got caught. Number one, in April, the CBC Ombudsman admitted they received more complaints than the previous 3 months combined, the highest ever during an election. Why? Because CBC didn't just report the election, they interfered in it. Allegedly, their anchors smeared Rebel News online on national TV. They said we were disruptive. They said our accreditation was revoked. They said Dre Humphrey was wrong about residential school discoveries. All lies, all caught on camera. They even claimed our billboard truck was operating illegally. Spoiler, it wasn't. CBC reporters were so fixated on banning us that the debate press conference was cancelled because the Commission couldn't justify kicking us out. Dre Humphrey was accused on air of denying residential school deaths, but all she did was accurately state that no human remains have been found at Kamloops. CBC quietly issued a correction, not on TV, but buried in a blog post. Here's what Canadians told the Ombudsman. Discriminatory, puerile and unprofessional, a whining gatekeeping toddler. You swayed or influenced voters. That's definitely not your job. They're not wrong. Even the Ombudsman admitted many complaints were found to have merit. Translation, the CBC lied. Viewers noticed. The damage was done. Read the report yourself. And now, new PM Mark Carney is promising the CBC another $150 million on top of their $1.4 billion. They're not being punished for this bias, they're being rewarded. The CBC isn't a broadcaster. It's a taxpayer-funded smear machine, propping up the Liberals and silencing dissent. And the 2025 debates exposed it in real time. The question isn't if CBC is biased. That's settled. The real question is, how much longer are we going to fund the lie? And the full receipts are here somewhere. Very interesting. I do believe that our ABCs and BBCs do the same. American AF said, holy shit, people in America better wake up before it's too late. Now let's have a listen to this one. See where my volume is before I turn it up.
Islam will be spread by two ways: through the importation of Muslims into your country, or the spread of lower income, predominantly minority men. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, the left love Islam and they will import Islam, and we see that in Australia and in London. One of the major people in the Department of Education in London, he's literally an imam and a mufti. He's literally an Islamic scholar and an imam who preaches. You will see Islam make its way into the left-wing politics. That's one of the reasons the borders were open the last 4 years. It was intentional about changing the character of this nation fundamentally. The way to destroy America will be Islam, and this is very obvious in UK. Half of Americans are left, half of Americans are right, give or take. The only way for leftism to win permanently is to import a group of people that fundamentally hates the American freedom. That happens to be Islam.
There you go. And we're watching it in real time in our countries. If you live in the UK or Australia or I don't know, Canada, are you sending them back yet? Why did I hear something about Canada stopping any more people coming in? Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong down below. Truth Now said just in, Supreme Court delivers massive victory for Trump administration. 6-3 allows ban on transgenders in the military. Fit, not fat. Well done, President Trump. Avery Warwick said Obama imported 70,000 Somali immigrants and put them in Minnesota. We're nearly all clustered in one single area, specifically the 5th Congressional District. That district recently was identified by the FBI as America's terrorist recruitment capital and is represented by Ilhan Omar, who's calling for the dissolution of America's homeland security. Are you connecting the dots yet? Well, I think we see why now. Makes a whole lot of sense. DC Lidston said Elon reposting Lara Logan, who's reposting CAG. Nothing to see here. Now, CAG is a Q follower, I believe. Lara Logan said, why there's so many pedos among the ranks of Antifa? That is a serious question. Maybe young people should consider this when picking a side. CAG News said a man in East Tennessee was in court on Thursday after he was charged with child crimes against children in a really bad way, and conspiring to sexually abuse a young girl. Joseph Brandon, an actor in film and television, saw his home raided amid accusations that he had partnered with a Michigan man to create what? Oh no, I don't think I want to know. Okay, so this guy here. Project Constitution said this woman gets it. She came to America legally to become American, not to bring Brazil here. 25 years later, she's a proud citizen who assimilated like every real immigrant should, including to Australia. If you're not coming here legally to join America, stay where you are. Same goes for the UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, pretty much everywhere. Okay, let's have a listen.
I moved over here from Brazil, and I'm pretty much Americanized by now, in case you can't tell. It's been over 25 years. I'm now a proud American citizen, and I have worked hard to adopt this country as my own and become a valuable part of this community. Let me introduce you to this word, which means to adopt something as one's own and become a part of it, which is what's supposed to be your job as an immigrant. So that means that I can come over here and introduce you to some cool stuff like Guaraná and Farofa, but I'm not supposed to be coming over here and be an invasive species. That's not the reason I came. I came here to be one of you. If I thought Brazil was so much better, I would have stayed there. Someone explain to me why I am expected to respect and abide by everyone else's customs, literally everywhere else in the world, everywhere else I go except here. Oh, but some people are fighting political persecution. Okay, well, if your land and your country and your culture and all that's so much better than we are, then you stay there and you figure it out and you fix it. That sounds like a you problem. Basically put, if you're not coming over here to assimilate like me, then you need to stay right where you are. Period. Full stop.
Exactly. I agree with her. Assimilate means become part of the country. Do as the people in that country do. What do they say? When in Rome, do as the Romans do? Okay, that goes for all countries and Rome as well. Trump girl said totally epic video of Alcatraz. Ooh, because Trump's thinking of opening this. Okay, let's have a look. Maybe without a sound. 5 things to know about Alcatraz. What have we got here? Alcatraz, the historic island prison off San Francisco, was home to some of the country's most notorious criminals from 1934 to its closure in 1963. It was shuttered due to crumbling infrastructure and the high costs of repairing and supplying the island facility. The prison, infamously inescapable due to strong ocean currents and cold Pacific waters that surround it, was known as the Rock. It housed some of the nation's most famous criminals, including gangster Al Capone and George Machine Gun Kelly. In the 29 years it was open, 36 men attempted 14 separate escapes. Nearly all were caught or didn't survive the attempt, according to the FBI. The fate of 3 inmates, John Anglin, his brother Clarence and Frank Morris, is of some debate and was dramatised in the 1979 film Escape from Alcatraz, starring Clint Eastwood. On May the 4th, 2025, President Donald Trump announced his intent to reopen the prison. Very interesting, isn't it? Well, they're going to need somewhere to put all these corrupt people from all over the world, mind you. In the Matrix said a big announcement coming soon. Donald J. Trump said a big announcement coming soon. Okay, let's have a listen to what he's going to say here.
We'll have maybe before we're going to, as you know, the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. We're going to UAE and Qatar, and that'll be, I guess, Monday night. Some of you are coming with us. I think before then we're going to have a very, very big announcement to make, like as big as it gets, and I won't tell you on what, but it's going to, and it's very positive. I'd tell you if it was negative or positive. I can't keep that out. It is really, really positive. And that announcement will be made either Thursday or Friday or Monday before we leave. But it'll be one of the most important announcements that have been made in many years about a certain subject, very important subject. So you'll all be here.
I wonder what that's about. Good news coming, guys. Either Thursday, Friday, or next Monday. Okay, and yep, that is it for today, guys. Okay, you can let me know what you think about all this down below. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.